whenever you are. We're good?
Yep.
All right, welcome everyone. Hopefully we have a hearty audience out there in TV land, or YouTube land. Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate it under these unique circumstances. I believe Selectman Barrows has a quote for us this evening.
Tact is the ability to tell somebody to go to hell and make them look forward to going the trip.
Perfect.
Winston Churchill.
And we have asked the public to stay at home, so we will not be having any citizens forum for any non-agenda item. However, if anything comes up, feel free to email us or message us and we'll bring it up the next time we meet. So with no further ado, let's toss it back over to our town administrator for the administrator's report.
With the exception of the COVID-19 situation that's going on, gravel roads are soft, muddy. We're aware. They were actually doing a pretty good job of drying out. We are anticipating to get a winter storm event tonight, and if the snow doesn't get too deep, we're likely not to plow any gravel road that's relatively flat, just because we'll do more, make more of a mess than we would otherwise. That and McEd, there was a grant thing in here. Anybody want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah.
There's a grant opportunity from the Mid-Coast Economic Development District that they're contemplating applying for with the U.S. Department of Interior regarding historic revitalization grants. And I didn't know, although the board had made up it, excuse me, board had made up its mind regarding putting forth something to the voters for the possible sale or authorization of sale of the LIA building, that this might be of at least some interest. The kicker in all of this is that the property has to be on the National Historic Register or eligible for the register. As I understand it, the LIA is not currently. I have no idea whether or not it would qualify. But
Well, I know that they had strongly indicated that was something that they were going to pursue. Have you heard from any representative of the Historical Society or the LIA that they have made progress there? My understanding is that it's, in the best of times, a multi-month process.
yeah, I haven't been
Nothing.
briefed by them on any
It's
progress
my
whatsoever.
understanding from talking to Bob the other night that the LA really can't make any decisions until May because they don't have enough on the board to make a decision. You know, so they can't decide if they do or don't want to
Yeah.
do this.
It might be worth just checking in with
Yeah.
one of the
I think it
Historical
would be worth
Society
to
folks.
see if it's still on the game, if it's on the game plan.
Yeah.
If there is any interest, shall I at least get our name into the preliminary ring with the folks?
Well, I guess
From a
my
kid?
reading through the criteria, while it wasn't a requirement, apparently you were considered more strongly if you had matching funds. So that's my one question. It's not that I'm not interested. Obviously, it would be a wonderful opportunity. However, if they award us any number of hundreds of thousands of dollars and then we have to come up with matching amounts, that's still burdensome.
Yeah. Well, it sounds as though the Mid-Coast Economic Development District, which does all of Saginaw, Lincoln, Knox, and a portion of Waldo County, is going to apply for a grant. So they're looking for people that to apply to them for them to kind of winnow through before they apply onwards. And they may, who knows how much interest they'll have, particularly in light of what's transpiring. Even if it was zero, at least we could throw the hat in the ring.
Yeah. I feel like it never hurts, but if we're not on the registry, we may be disqualified just
Yep.
out of hand, but you never know. Times are strange, people are weird.
Anybody have any objection to?
No.
Okay.
Nobody's screaming no.
Okay, the only other thing I have for a reminder for folks out there, although who knows what changes will come down the road. Right now, nomination papers are available for positions of Selectmen, Budget Committee, and Lincolnville Central School Committee. We have thus far 3 people that have taken out nomination papers for Board of Selectmen. 1 has returned them. 2 have taken out papers for the Lincolnville Central School Committee, and 1 has returned. And 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Budget Committee, and 1 returned. So we still have time. Those have to be taken out, well, they can be taken out anytime now and returned by 4:30 p.m. on Friday, April 10th, for anybody that's interested.
Okay. Is that all that, David?
That's it for now.
Any questions or follow-ups for David under the administrator's report? Okay, let's move along to meetings and announcements.
Sure. The Midcoast Solid Waste Corporation Board of Directors is scheduled to meet Wednesday, March 25th, 6:30 at the Camden Town Office, and some of them will be meeting remotely. If you want to watch or tune in remotely, I think we'll have a link here. Give us a call here at the town office. And the Board of Selectmen will have some sort of meeting next on April 13th, 6 p.m. We are diligently working on a couple of different options for allowing remote access so that we all don't have to be kind of in the same room together. But certainly that will be an option. Probably we'll have kind of the hub here and then have people that can remote in so that we can actually watch, people at home can watch it on TV or online or. So that is for the benefit of the folks viewing at home. The state of Maine passed some emergency legislation regarding a number of things with COVID-19, one of which allows for municipal meetings to be held remotely if certain criteria are met, and we're diligently trying to meet that criteria. We'll talk about that a little bit more in number 4. But.
Yes, well, if there's nothing further on meetings and announcements, we're skipping selectmen updates for now, just in the interest of keeping this short and sweet and to essential business. So that being said, I'm gonna continue to put David in the hot spot to go over the update and the latest regarding operations during this COVID-19 pandemic. And for those of you watching at home who may be wondering about the setup, we are trying to practice practical social distancing while meeting, and that's why we've dissuaded any sort of public interaction for this particular meeting. So, David, would you like to give
Sure.
a lengthy...
Well, I'll try to be short and sweet. I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to review the stuff I sent out last night. The copy is there on your desk, but as you're all aware, the President has issued a national emergency. regarding the COVID-19 outbreak, and Governor Mills has done the same. The town has an emergency operations plan that should be, in my opinion, put into motion in case something changes between now and the next time the Board of Selectmen meet. That we're not at the point where we believe that we will need, or certainly not necessary today, to activate our emergency operations center, but this would put in place the ability to do that either by direction of one of you, myself, or the emergency management director. And I don't know if there's any interest in me reading the whereases and the heretofores, but I'd do that if that pleased the board chair. Or maybe that's a little bit over the top.
I don't know that it would hurt.
Okay, this is Town of Lincolnville, proclamation of state of emergency to protect public health, and this is a draft. Whereas COVID-19 is a highly infectious agent that poses imminent threat of substantial harm to our residents, whereas the Lincolnville Board of Selectmen is charged with the responsibility for the well-being of the citizens within the town of Lincolnville, whereas on March 13th, 2020, the President of the United States has proclaimed that COVID-19 outbreak in the United States constitutes a national emergency, whereas on March 15th, 2020, the Governor of the State of Maine declared a civil state of emergency, whereas the risk of community spread throughout the town of Lincolnville impacts the life, health, and safety of the public, and public health is imperiled by the person-to-person spread of COVID-19, and whereas this proclamation is necessary to authorize the use of the emergency powers set forth in the Lincolnville Emergency Operations Plan and associated Waldo County Emergency Operation Plan in order to expand and expedite the local response. Now, therefore, we, the Lincolnville Board of Selectmen, pursuant to the statutes of the state of Maine, the Lincolnville Town Charter and ordinances, do hereby find and declare that these conditions constitute a state of emergency within the meaning of 37-B MRSA Section 783. This proclamation shall expire at the same time as the state of Maine's state of emergency unless terminated by board action. Given under our hands at said Lincolnville, Maine, this 23rd day of March, 2020.
Thank you very much. So as such, unless there are any immediate questions with that proclamation, I know that we have under number 4 suggested motion. However, this new supplemental handout that you just received supersedes that, should the board wish to make a motion as such. So as such, can I have a first motion?
I move that the board proclaim that a state of emergency with regards to COVID-19 exists within all of the town of Lincolnville, and that the proclamation of emergency to further protect public health be signed and filed with the town clerk within 24 hours.
Second.
So moved, seconded. Do we have discussion? Seeing nothing, all in favor? Thank you very much.
I'm not going to bother to read that whole thing to you, but certainly with regard to the Board of Selectmen and our committees, Governor Mills has issued an executive order prohibiting public gatherings of more than 10 people. As we discussed, or as I jumped to a little earlier, in order to do that, it's challenging for us to have committee meetings or the selectmen's meeting that are supposed to be public meetings and limit the number to 10. I mean, if you look in the room, there's 6 of us here now. That would leave 4 other seats. The legislature passed and the governor signed a emergency measure that will allow us to have, as I said earlier, remote access meetings if we wish. And so I had a couple of suggestions that for the board in terms of setting forth policy regarding those meetings and actually setting up a system. I guess I'll stop there.
So as such, unless there are questions or discussion, could I have a motion, please?
I move until such time as the town of Lincolnville has in place the ability to conduct meetings through remote access or the state of emergency lifted, that all board, committee, and commission meetings that are under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen be canceled, and that the town administrator informs staff and committee chairs of this prohibition.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And can I have another motion, please?
I move that the town administrator be authorized to implement as soon as practical a system to allow for municipal meetings to be conducted through remote access, that the town administrator prepare the rules and priorities necessary for operation and access of such a system, to inform committee chairs of these rules, and that any expense for such a system be charged to the contingency account.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you very much.
We have the emergency measure also addresses elections, municipal and school budgets. At this time, I think we're charging ahead or moving ahead thinking that the state of emergency may be lifted prior to elections and municipal and school budgets and not requiring board action. If this ends up being longer and more drawn out, we'll have to review each of those sections of the law regarding how to set budgets without town meetings and decide if that's something you wish to do, and then we'll charge for it at that time. But at the moment, that's my opinion, no action of the board is necessary. In terms of disbursements of money, the law currently, prior to the emergency measure, required the selectmen to meet in public session, as you usually do every 2 weeks, and vote to approve the warrant so that the public knows what you're doing. Now the emergency measure allows for the warrant to be approved individually by you folks coming in, I won't say at your leisure, but when it's prepared, and all you have to do is review it, sign it, and as soon as we have a majority of board signatures, we can go ahead and process those payments. That way, it's an effort to not have, again, groups of people together, potentially exposing each other. No board action is necessary on that unless you wish to do something contrary to what's allowed. Certainly, the plan would be that we would have the warrants available for review, and then you'd still vote remotely at meetings if you wish to, but it'd be hard to review them remotely.
So would people come in, and would you be asking people to come in and sign stuff, or I mean, how would
Yeah, there's if you didn't want to see, well, you can see anything you wish. If you just wanted the list of what was on that, we certainly could scan that and send it to you, so prior to the meeting you could vote on it. But somebody's going to have to either come in and sign it, or we're going to have to run it around to people to get 3 signatures and then say, move forward.
right?
So as such, can we have a motion just regarding spending in the interim?
I move that the town administrator inform department heads to closely monitor their budgets and to seek direction from the town administrator before making any substantial capital purchase.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Yes.
Well, just for the folks that might be listening at home, The current situation may impact the town's revenues coming in, and this measure just will reemphasize to department heads that if they haven't purchased something, that before they do, we need to have another conversation to make sure that we have the financial wherewithal to purchase things. I really don't think at this point, late in the fiscal year, there's a lot of that left out there outstanding, but never hurts to be prudent. Sorry.
Absolutely. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much.
The board had previously scheduled a special meeting for tomorrow. Boy, nobody wants to sit next to me. And the other party has asked to participate remotely. I'm not even sure you want to have that meeting, what you wish to do. A lot of things have changed since you scheduled that. So I don't know if you want to assign one, if you want to try to set this up multiple remotes. Have worked with the other party so that if I provide them with email addresses, they can send you a link that you can join into a meeting that they've set up. We would have to somehow vote to go into executive session, but we can make that happen.
Can we postpone this? Are they good with that?
Obviously they're interested in moving forward, but certainly in light of the current situation, if we postponed, I don't think they.
Yeah.
I mean, could we try to set something up via Zoom?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
For tomorrow at the same time, like for the 5:45, like just keep the time and just try to do it through Zoom.
First, we need to get our remote access in play and working properly for everybody, and then I would say maybe we postpone this until we get
They may
remote access up and
I
running.
mean, I think I didn't look at the email I received from the folks today, but I think they have a Zoom or similar system that we can, you could log in. We could provide you the information. You could log in tomorrow, or you could come here if you wanted to, and we can set that up.
I mean,
if you want to do it tomorrow. My suspicion is that the board will primarily just be listening, and then we're gonna have to have some sort of conversation about if and how you wish to proceed without them listening in.
right.
I'd prefer we postpone this meeting. It just doesn't feel very important right now. I know they may feel differently, but I don't see the harm in waiting 2 weeks. So we have the remote meeting capabilities all worked out.
I think that, they're not gonna object. I mean,
I'd rather postpone.
is that the consensus of the group?
I don't have any
Or do you wanna
objection to that.
override anybody, or?
Well, I mean, I think that the Zoom technology isn't really all that complicated, but, I'm also not, I think it's so preliminary and early on. Not that time is of the essence, but, you know how easily it is for us to get things done when things are working perfectly. I think about timelines and that sort of thing, and so I don't see the harm, particularly when the new emergency legislation allows us for this. I don't necessarily see the board needing to take any action, but having the board members who could participate listen, and so, and perhaps move the conversation along out of this very bizarre general non-specific item speak would be helpful to all parties, but is the world gonna end if we wait 2 weeks? No. So, yeah, I would be for figuring it out with Zoom, but I'm also biased because I feel comfortable with that technology. So, we can wait 2 weeks. That's fine.
I'm okay either way. I guess I don't have a strong opinion either way. I'm about to use Zoom for the first time, I think, tomorrow anyway. So I guess I'll be familiar with it by
Just download
tomorrow.
the app well in advance.
Okay.
That's my one piece of
Right.
advice.
Seems like that's been, Zoom's suddenly become
Either
popular.
way, it's, I just, one side of me just wants to get it out of the way and do it, and the other side, wait and, so.
Yeah.
I'll go with the flow either way, it's fine.
With some hesitancy on some board members, if someone were to ask my counsel, I'd say, why don't we postpone till we make sure everybody's on board and ready to go?
All right, well,
Yeah,
that's a sound recommendation then. I can take that.
knowing that it's not in the scope of things all that critical, it's fine.
Okay. I shall inform that we'd like to postpone. The town office is now closed to in-person transactions, and my opinion should remain so until the board thinks it's safe and appropriate to once again conduct in-person transactions. However, the board should be confirming the fact that we've closed to the public. We do offer, as somebody was so kind to point out, there is a drop box out front. So if people want to drop things off for action, we're here answering phones, email, fax, US mail, everything except front counter. I know that's a hardship for some people, but it's an interesting time, to say the least. I mean, I don't know if we want to expose people to thinking they have to come to the town office, or expose the employees to undue risk.
Yeah, so for utter clarification, the town office was closed by general consensus via communication with the town administrator prior to the weekend, so it would be appropriate for us now to make a motion to make it.
And before you do that, because there's a second motion there, the current thought is that we would have staff here on a daily basis, or what's normally a workday basis, but that we would rotate people in and out so that if somebody came in contact with it elsewhere and needed to stay home, others would still be in a healthy situation. We'd rotate them in, so to speak. There are some things that people can do at work. There are certain a lot of things people can do at work. There's certainly some things people can do at home as well, and we're trying to maximize that. I will not sit here and tell you that I will be able to occupy everyone's time for 40 hours a week at home. So there's going to be some pay for availability if the recommendations are accepted.
So if there's no immediate questions, can I have the first motion, please?
I move that in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, that effective immediately the town office be closed to in-person transactions until such time as the Board of Selectmen determine that it is safe and appropriate to conduct in-person transactions.
So moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And can I have the follow-up motion, please?
In an effort to enhance the likelihood that town office operations remain available throughout the state of emergency and to minimize exposure to the town office employees, I move that the town administrator be empowered to establish a rotating staff schedule and that staff continue to be paid whether working as assigned by the town administrator, either in the office or from home.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you very much.
Would like to note for anybody that might be watching from remotely that the emergency legislation passed allows for vehicles whose registrations expire during the state of emergency. So if you had a March license registration on your car and that expires in March, that will be good and valid, has been extended through 30 days after the end of the state of emergency. So if the state of Maine decides the emergency is over on June 1st, as of June, yeah, okay.
July 1st.
As of July 1st or June 31st, if there was such a day, you would have that period of time within which to register your car, your boat, your trailer, your ATV, whatever it is that you've got a registration on. You can still re-register online if you wish. I'm not quite sure why you'd want to incur the expense at the moment when you can wait, but let's see, new registrations are going to be problematic. If you buy from a dealer, you'll get a temporary plate. That temporary plate acts as your registration, will be good until 30 days after the emergency declaration. If you do a private party sale or purchase, call us in advance before you close the deal. We'll see what we can work out with you in terms of maybe being able to register it via mail or through the drop slot or something. If you do a private party purchase or purchase a vehicle from a dealer outside the state of Maine, you're going to be doomed. I hate to tell you that. The Bureau of Motor Vehicle office in Augusta is closed. There's nobody there for us to contact, and it's just unfortunately not going to be physically possible or able. One more other thing I'd like to lump into town office that is really personnel related. Our current personnel policy requires employees to use or lose their vacation time by their anniversary date. And an employee asked, since their anniversary date is coming up in April and they really would prefer not to take vacation and be home, if that could possibly be extended. I don't see any harm at this point extending it through, I would say, at the fiscal year, and we'll see how that transpires and how that plays out with the state of emergency. So if I were to suggest a motion, it would be, I move that the board authorize the town administrator to allow for the vacation time to be not expire on the employee's anniversary date, but rather at the end of the fiscal year during our state of emergency.
Second.
Well, I
So
can't make
moved.
the motion,
So
but
moved. And
Got it.
seconded.
So moved and seconded.
Any discussion?
sorry to bring that up today, but that
No, that's
came
a,
to
that's,
light
that's, that's a
today,
good
so.
thing.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Do you want to go down through the remainder of these things? I don't think there's board action.
Sorry, should we vote on that motion?
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, yeah, good
Sorry.
call there.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor?
thank you. There isn't anything else on the list that requires board action, but I'm glad to go over it and tell you what we're doing or not doing, if you so desire, or you think the public is interested.
Does the board wish for David to read through the balance of the town activities? I don't think it's necessary. If people have questions or wish to access this, can it be available on our website?
Yeah.
I do have one question about property taxes.
Yes.
So those are due April 1st, the second half.
Correct.
And is there any mechanism to delay charging interest?
Not that I am aware of. You, or the Board of Assessors back in August committed property taxes, and part of that commitment included the establishment of due dates, and was interest determined at town meeting? Yeah, interest was determined at town meeting, so you'd have to have a special town meeting to undo the interest, at least, and I don't know if you can, I don't know how that would work.
Okay.
I could explore that for your next meeting if you want.
I would like that. I think that if it's doable, I think that's like one thing we could do as a board of assessors to help people.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It is, obviously there are, financial implications to the town and its ability to pay its bills too. Should people say, oh, no interest and I don't have to pay till ever. And, I mean,
Yeah.
you still owe, and the due date's there, so we would have a mechanism to collect ultimately, but, we need to be able, we'd be all right in the short term, but we need to be able to pay our bills too. So,
Yeah, no, that's true.
that's part of the harsh reality, I guess, is but I can certainly look and get that answer to you.
Is there any other, point of operations of the town during the state of emergency that you feel needs to be brought up for discussion or shared with the public at this time?
I may have had a conversation with you the other day, or maybe it was David, or maybe both, about checking in with some of our elderly residents, and I just wanna know if there's something in place through the fire department or through Waldo County Sheriff's Department,
Yeah.
or something of that nature, so that we can, make sure everybody's okay.
There is, one of the things that, Pete Rollins, the EMA director, has been working on is that very question. There is a program that exists already with Waldo County Communications or Dispatch. It's called the Friendly Caller Program, where people call in, but within a certain window of time every day. If they don't hear from you within that window, then they call people that you've provided them on the list to check on you. And if they can't get either one of those people and they have deputies available, they'll send somebody to come to your home. That's probably the quickest and most effective program that somebody could implement currently. And if there's anybody out there that is interested in that, if they can call us here at the town office, we can give them the number to call at Waldo to get on the list or establish
That
that.
would be great. I'd really like to see some people
Yep.
help out with that.
Yep. There's
That would be great.
there are a number of people I know here in town, a number of people that already participate in that program.
That's good.
Well, and any citizen, you know, if you feel like young or old, if you have questions about somebody that you feel like you haven't heard from in a while, please don't hesitate to contact the town office and we'll figure something out. Same goes for any level of help or assistance or questions about any of our citizens. If you are worried about someone or yourself, it's not the time to be silent, so please feel free to give us a call here at the town office and reach out and we'll try to figure out something for you. So any further questions or action? David, I'll look at you, under agenda item number 4 regarding our duties, during this state of emergency.
Let's see.
And it's my understanding that our EMA director is participating in the county conversation right now and should have updates for us.
Yeah, they have multiple briefings or communications with Waldo County EMA multiple times a week, and trying to see what resources everybody has available immediately, what can be made available, and what should be made available. And I hate to say we're all kind of in a wait and see mode, but there's a certain amount of wait and see mode to see how effective the social distancing is.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing further there, then our next duty and obligation is to go through the fiscal year 2021. We had a bunch of questions. We made some changes at our last meeting, so there will be some differences contained in this iteration of the budget. Budget committee is
not currently scheduled to meet because of the current situation. They were scheduled to meet tomorrow evening to receive this budget. Been in communication on and off with the budget committee chair, and they're looking to potentially do something remotely when we have the capabilities of doing remotely. School committee had a meeting last week, and it was not completely successful for some of the remote participants to get into the meeting, and they're looking to set up another one specifically with the budget committee to go over the budget again with them. So, but this budget, I think everybody was, I believe we captured the essence of everybody, all the motions, not motions, but all the selectmen's changes, and everybody was satisfied with the budget with those changes. And we were going to, the only outstanding item was to check with the security company about the low temperature and water alarms for here. We did that. They had somebody come out and gave us a $435 budget estimate. I called it 500 and added it into security and town office.
Okay, excellent. So, if everyone would be on page 4.
Oh, I'll wait.
No?
No,
Oh,
no, I've
okay.
got.
So if there's no great opposition, we'll just go through department by department, and David, you can just hit us with the highs and lows. If there's something that, is that good news, bad news? Is that what you're wanting to?
Well, I have a thing we ought to talk about when we get to revenues at the end.
Okay. So page 4, administration and finance. As we discussed at our last meeting, we have an employee who's having life circumstance change, and so we needed to increase that line. Any questions, changes, or amendments there? No? Okay. Let's move along. John, you know where you're? Tab 5.
Oh, tab 5. I thought you meant in the thing. I'm like, okay. Here we go.
Tab 5, we're gonna move along to page, do you wanna have a chance to review?
No, I got it. Ah, yes. Okay, here we go.
All right, let's move along to page 6 then. Protection animal control, any changes or alterations there? Anything look out of the ordinary? Okay, let's move along to page 7, parking enforcement. If you're interested, please call the town office to apply.
Please.
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 Exactly.
We're,
If there's nothing there, let's move along to page 8, Protection Fire Department, as we met with the fire chiefs last time, asked them some additional questions, got some clarity there on the truck upkeep maintenance line. It became obvious that we had not been assigning enough funds for the care and maintenance, so you'll see that line went up significantly.
Yeah.
But as we discussed,
And wages were adjusted.
right, and wages were adjusted because we don't want to see them begging or stealing from one part of their budget to cover another. And we also discussed, we wanted to up the call amount that each firefighter received, and in the future ask the Wages and Personnel Committee to review the pay structure. So is there any questions or comments there?
Was there on the, maybe it's not in this part for a line item, but didn't we have some equipment that we wanted to add to the fire protection and Berg to the building? Or is that in a different?
Yeah, it's in the capital improvement.
Okay, okay.
All right, so moving along, skipping page 9, that's more explanation. Page 10, protection other, includes streetlights, EMA. You will see there's an increase there because we recommended additional portable barriers than what had been initially requested. Any questions or comments there? Okay, let's move along to page 11, town office building. There will be an increase in the security system. You'll see down in the explanation, there's that additional $500, which David just explained. Any other questions or comments there? Okay, moving along to page 12, contingency. There it is.
There it goes.
Page 13, code enforcement. We have one. Moving along. Assessors. We have one. An agent, assessor's agent. We've got 5 assessors. Page 15, public works, highways, and bridges. Anything there?
I'd just like to point out, under winter road maintenance, that this will be the 3rd year in a 5-year contract. And just to plant a seed in your mind, neighboring community solicited bids. I believe they received 1, they rejected it, rebid it, received 3 bids, all substantially higher than we're paying. So a couple years down the road, just so you know, that's out there.
Great.
Something to look forward to.
Thanks, David, for that
Cheery news.
little treat on the horizon. Okay, so any changes, alterations, questions, comments on page 15? Okay, let's move along to page 16, Public Works, Transfer Station. Look at the number, enjoy it. Let's move along. Page 17, Public Works, Harbor. Anything there? Moving along. Public Works, Other. We had made some changes under a few of these different lines, so let's just make sure that everything is where we want it to be. Any questions, comments there? Okay.
I would although it's not budget related, would like you to know that the tentative meeting with the Camden Select Board of McGonagall Dams has been.
Yeah.
Yep. Moving on to page 19, boards and committees. Anything there? Seeing nothing, let's move along to page 20, municipal support. Anything there? Okay. Page 21 is explanation. Page 22, provider agencies. Seeing nothing there. Page 23, capital improvement program. This may be the page that you were wondering about, Kern.
Yeah, I think fire station security system, estimate for fire and water detection, additional for intrusion.
What does that pay for specifically? Like,
The installation of, I don't have the quote in front of me, but motion detectors, smoke detectors, heat detectors, and a water thing that, we got water on the floor like we did, from the in the boiler room.
I think that also
And-
included door bugs,
You know,
things of that nature.
And what's the annual fee after that?
I'm gonna look back to the town office one and say it's gonna be very similar to that,
Okay.
because I don't have that with me in front of me. About between $500 and $600 a year.
So any thoughts there? At our last meeting, in case anyone is wondering, with the athletic infrastructure, we recommended, funding half of what the balance would be for the tennis courts. And then going back to the voters again next year to get the balance. So that's what makes up that total. Nothing there. We'll move along to page 24, debt service. Again, enjoy the number. And then page 25, budget totals. And David, you had revenue information?
We had, the last time we had some good news and we adjusted up the revenue sharing
Uh-huh.
number. I don't have any bad news to tell you with that in terms of new projections from the state. But I can tell you that in light of the current situation that's going on, revenue sharing is likely to be, the state's not as likely to take in the revenue, so they're not as likely to share revenue they don't have, because it's supposedly a percentage of sales and income tax. I would think that the board might consider reducing revenue sharing by a number of which I really don't know what to tell you. You might pick $50,000 and then increase fund balance by $50,000, so it's a wash. Fund balance is healthy today, and it's really partially a rainy day fund, and if it ain't raining now, it ain't never gonna rain. Hate to say it that way, but.
I think that's good advice.
And, I mean, if we get more revenue sharing in, it just goes into fund balance anyways, for availability in a future year. But if we don't budget for it, I think, or reduce the revenue sharing, I think we're kidding ourselves to think that, with people being laid off, that it's going to, not be impacted. And if something breaks between now and town meeting, we can have some, I mean, you could leave it there and adjust it later with the budget committee or town meeting, but I think it better to recognize it for what it is. And
Absolutely. So effectively, we're still recommending a budget that is 2.79% less than last year's fiscal budget.
to the property taxpayer, yes.
Okay.
And
So do you need any action from the board or just a recommendation there? You'll adjust the,
I would adjust the fund balance to 550,000,
Yep.
and revenue sharing to 238,911. So the numbers are still the same,
yeah,
the sums. And if everybody's comfortable with that, it'd be nice to have a motion that this is ready to forward on to the budget committee when and if they ever have a meeting.
yeah.
Not when and if.
So, any final comments, questions, concerns regarding the budget, or does someone wish to make a motion?
I move that the recommendation included in the budget draft dated March 9th, 2020 be approved and forwarded to the budget committee for their consideration.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And we have before us a renewal of a liquor license. Obviously, considering the circumstances, we did not ask the applicant to come in. And I know it seems kind of silly to have a renewal considering everything, but it was on the agenda and like, we were meeting, so if, no one has any objections or questions needed, I thought we could just dispatch with this piece of business.
I move that the board approve and sign the liquor license application submitted by the Inn at Ocean's Edge.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any further discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And we have the treasurer and payroll warrants before us to approve and sign.
I move that the board approve the treasurer's and payroll warrants.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And does the board have any other business it wishes to conduct at this time? Can I have a final motion then?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Keep your pens out.